Welcome, everyone. Today, we're embarking on quite a deep dive. We're looking into something that shapes the lives of billions, the Islamic calendar.
That's right. Its history, its practices, the traditions.
Hmm.
There's a lot there.
Absolutely. And we've gathered, well, a stack of sources, ancient texts, modern views, even linguistic breakdowns to really try and understand it all.
Our mission here really is to guide you through all this material. We want to help you grasp what's most important.
Yeah, figuring out what's a deeply rooted tradition versus something that came along later.
And innovation, right? Exactly. And appreciating the nuances, too. Religious knowledge isn't always black and white. We'll challenge some common misconceptions.
And hopefully give you some surprising facts, maybe a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed on this. It's a really vital topic.
Definitely. So where do our sources kick things off?
Interestingly, they start with something very modern, how Islamic knowledge actually gets around today.
You mean things like social media?
Precisely. The sources highlight it as a huge convenience, for scholars getting knowledge out there widely.
And there's a specific focus mentioned, isn't there? Something about language.
Yes, Roman Urdu. It's basically using the Latin alphabet for Urdu words.
Right, a transliteration.
Yeah.
It helps bridge that gap between Arabic or Urdu speakers and a potentially wider audience who might not read those scripts.
They even mention projects like a Roman Urdu encyclopedia. It sounds like a pretty large-scale effort to make knowledge accessible.
It does, and accessibility seems key, especially when the sources talk about sharing the texts themselves.
Yeah, they're very clear on this. A strict ban on using religious texts for commercial gain.
It's about keeping it accessible, keeping the intention pure, right? Not about profit.
Exactly, safeguarding the knowledge.
And this idea of safeguarding leads directly into a theme that just runs through everything we looked at.
Which is?
The strong caution against innovations.
Ah, okay. So practices that aren't from the original teachings.
Correct. They're seen as deviations. Understanding this warning is, well, it's fundamental for the rest of our discussion today. It really sets the stage.
That makes sense. A caution against adding things. It anchors us.
It does. Because the foundation, according to the sources, is right there in the Quran.
The declaration that there are 12 months in Allah's book.
Yes, and that 4 of them are sacred. Hermot wali, as the sources put it.
So the main goal of digging into these months, based on our material, is what? To list their virtues.
It's more nuanced. It's about clarifying the true virtues, the ones established in authentic hadith, the Prophet Muhammad's sayings and actions.
Okay, so separating the genuine from, what did the sources call them? Fabricated ones.
Monkadat, yes. Fabricated or weak narrations. That distinction is crucial.
And that brings us right back to Bidat, these innovations.
Right. Practices that stray from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet's way.
And the sources point out something quite striking here, don't they? That these innovations sometimes become more important than the original duties.
It's a concerning point they raise. Almost like people try to improve on something that the sources assert was already perfected.
Perfected during the Prophet's lifetime.
That's the core principle highlighted, that Islam was completed then, making later additions unnecessary, potentially even harmful.
So the emphasis is on following the original path.
Very much so. Following the Prophet's companions, the Sahaba. There's even a Quranic verse mentioned about Allah being pleased with those who followed them righteously. It's about purity, not adding extra things.
Okay, so if the calendar is set, the religion complete, how do we actually know when a new month begins? This sounds practical, but potentially tricky.
It is. Moon sighting, or rooh hilal, presents real challenges, especially across what the sources call bilad-i-ba'ida, distant lands.
So like if they see the moon in one country but not another?
Exactly. That can lead to different start days for the month. Sometimes months end up being 28 or 30 days long because of these sighting variations. A cloud could genuinely cause a difference.
Wow. Are there different scholarly opinions on how to handle that?
Oh, absolutely. Abdullah bin Abbas, a prominent companion, supported regional variation. Basically, see it where you are.
Makes sense. What about others?
Well, some of Ibn Taymiyyah had a slightly different view. He suggested that lands to the west of a sighting should follow it, but maybe not those to the east.
Specific, like if it's sited in Bahrain, places like Egypt or North Africa might follow, but maybe not India.
That's the kind of geographical logic he applied, yes. It shows there's valid scholarly difference here.
So how does someone navigate that? And what about actually seeing the moon? Are there rules for witnesses?
Yes, the sources detail that. For Ramadan, witnessing the crescent requires one just Muslim.
Just one.
For Ramadan, yes. But for other months like Shawwal, which marks the end of Ramadan, you need 2 just Muslim witnesses.
Okay, 2 for other months. And what about relying on, say, calculations instead of physically seeing it?
Ah, that's a key point. The Saudi Islamic Fiqh Council, for example, takes a strong stance, especially for places where it's often cloudy, like Singapore.
What's their view?
They emphasize relying only on visual sighting, not astronomical calculations.
Really, just looking.
Yes, echoing the Prophet's instruction. Look at the moon to fast, and look at it to break fast. The emphasis remains firmly on direct observation.
Fascinating. Okay, let's journey into the calendar itself. Month 1, Muharram.
Right. Its name apparently comes either from the prohibition of fighting, making it haram, or forbidden, or simply to stress its sacredness.
And it is one of those 4 sacred months we mentioned earlier.
It is. But interestingly, our sources spend a lot of time on the innovations associated with it. Bida'at again.
Particularly around the 10th day, Ashura.
Exactly. Practices like, well, excessive mourning, cooking special foods, wearing specific colors like black or green, avoiding marriage.
These are seen as mourning rituals.
Yes, and the sources state that this kind of overt, prolonged mourning is forbidden, or haram. It shows how cultural practices can sometimes become detached from authentic roots and turn into problematic innovations.
And the sources connect this to some pretty intense history, don't they?
They do. They mention a figure, Mosul Dola, back in the 10th century CE, initiating a campaign of cursing certain companions.
Wow. And that caused problems.
Big problems. Significant unrest, sectarian conflict in Baghdad. It really underscores the real-world impact these things can have on unity.
And there's more on specific practices being condemned. Something about replicas.
Yes, taziyah making. Creating replicas of tombs or shrines. Shah Ismail Shahi decided, strongly criticizing this.
How strong?
He likened it to idol making, idol worship even, calling acts like bowing down to them or walking around them shirk polytheism.
That's incredibly strong language.
It is. And other scholars chime in. Ibn Taymiyyah pointed out that Islam doesn't command specific mourning days for calamities that befell prophets.
So remembrance is one thing, but designated rituals are another.
That seems to be the distinction. Another scholar, Maulana Abdul al-Majid Daryabadi, is quoted contrasting these elaborate mourning rituals with the actual suffering, the hunger and sacrifice of Hazrat Hussein.
It's a stark contrast, highlighting the difference between genuine reverence and, well, deviation.
Precisely. The sources also briefly touch upon the different views on Yazid, whether he was considered a disbeliever, a Muslim, or if it's best to remain silent.
And there was a mention of a hadith.
Yes, one about forgiveness for those who participated in a specific battle, Ghazwa-i Qastantuniya, where Yazid was the commander. It adds complexity to the historical picture.
Okay. And finally, for Muharram, the sources warn about fabricated stories.
A lot of them, apparently. Man-Kadat Riwai, specifically about Ashura, claims of huge rewards for fasting on that specific day, or that all sorts of major prophetic events happened then.
Like Noah's Ark landing, or Ibrahim being saved from the fire, or Pharaoh drowning.
Exactly, things like that. The key takeaway is that scholars have widely declared these narrations unreliable. We need to be discerning.
Definitely a recurring theme. Be discerning, seek authenticity. This interplay seems like it will continue through the months.
It does. Let's look at the next month, Rabiul Sani.
Which means second spring. What do the sources say about this one?
Interestingly, they note an absence. No specific virtues recorded in authentic hadith, and seemingly no widespread, common innovations associated with it either.
An absence? How is that significant?
Well, it subtly reinforces that core message about bid'ah, doesn't it? If there's no authentic basis, nothing needs to be added. The month's quietness speaks volumes about the completeness of the original teachings.
Interesting perspective. But the sources do highlight a specific challenge related to this period.
Yes, and it's quite a serious one. Poems or writings that attribute divine-like powers to revered figures, like Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani.
Divine powers? Like what?
Things like being able to save sinking ships, grant children, even control destiny. The sources call these mushrikana nizam, polytheistic poems.
Wow, that's crossing a line, isn't it?
A very serious line, according to the sources. They emphasize that vows, or nazar, can only be made to Allah. It's a stark warning against excessive praise turning into something akin to worship.
A powerful warning indeed. Okay, moving on. Jumadul Ulada and Jumad Saniya.
Right. The sources even give us a bit of linguistics here. Jumada apparently means to freeze.
Ah, because they were named during a cold season.
Seems likely. And they also correct a common pronunciation, particularly in Urdu. It should be Jumadu Uwala, and Jumadu Ukra, or Saniya, not Jumadu Lawal, and Jumadu Sani.
Good to know. And in terms of practices or virtues,
Similar to Rabi Usani, these months are generally noted as being free from specific virtues in hadith and also free from common innovations, another reinforcement of that core principle.
but there's a controversy mentioned here, something called kunde.
Yes, the source discusses it under Jumada, though it notes the practice is traditionally associated with the 22nd of Rajab, a later month.
Ah, the kunde story. I think I've heard this one. A woodcutter's wife makes special food offering.
Exactly. Following advice supposedly from Hazrat Jafar Sadiq, her husband returns wealthy. Then a minister's wife mocks it and faces ruin. It's a classic sort of folktale.
But what do the scholars say?
Our sources are very clear. Multiple scholars, including those from a respected institution called Firangi Mahal, declare the practice biazal, baseless, and therefore forbidden, haram.
So a compelling story, but not authentic religious practice.
That's the conclusion presented. The sources also link the practice's timing in some traditions to the Shia marking of the death of Muawiyah, adding another layer of complexity.
Right, so always trace things back to authentic sources. Okay, next is Rajab.
A month with significant historical weight. The sources highlight the Isra and Miraj, the Prophet's miraculous night journey and ascension to the heavens.
That happened in Rajab on the 27th.
That's the date mentioned, yes. A unique honor specifically for the Prophet.
A truly profound event. But sticking to the theme, do innovations creep in around it?
Predictably, yes. The sources are critical of claims about special virtues for giving zakat specifically in Rajab, or observing particular fasts in Rajab. These are identified as fabricated.
So the event itself is honored, but adding extra rituals around it is discouraged.
Exactly. And there's a specific prayer mentioned, Salat ul-Ragaib,
What's that?
a special prayer supposedly performed on the first Friday night of Rajab. The sources state firmly that this is a bid'at, an innovation with no basis in the Sunnah.
And scholars confirm this.
Yes, figures like Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and Imam Nawawi are cited as confirming it's an unfounded practice, a clear example of an innovation being directly refuted.
Okay.
Anything else for Rajab?
A warning, similar to the one about Sheikh Jilani, against exaggerated praise of figures like Ali, the fourth caliph. Again, citing poetry that attributes almost divine qualities, warning it can slip into polytheistic beliefs.
Maintaining that clear line between reverence and worship. Got it. What about the next month, Shaban?
Here, the main focus regarding innovations is Shab Barat, the night of the 15th of Shaban.
Right, many people observe this night. What's the issue raised?
It's about specific congregational prayers believed to be special for this night, like praying 12 or 14 specific units. The sources clarify these specific prescribed prayers are considered fabricated. But voluntary worship in general is okay.
Oh, absolutely. General voluntary worship on any night is encouraged. The distinction is key. Individual devotion is always good, but assigning these specific structured congregational prayers to this night is seen as a later addition without basis.
Understood. Individual versus prescribed innovation. And that brings us to Ramadan.
The absolute peak of the Islamic year. The sources just overflow with descriptions of its virtues.
Like what? Give us the highlights.
Okay, well, devils are chained up, the gates of hell are closed, the gates of paradise are thrown open.
Sounds incredible.
And every single night, Allah frees souls from the hellfire. It's presented as a month of immense mercy and opportunity.
What are the key practices emphasized?
Increased Quran recitation is huge. The sources mention the Prophet's practice of reviewing the Quran with the angel Jibril during Ramadan. Also, abundant charity.
And itikaf, seclusion in the mosque.
Yes, spiritual seclusion, usually in the last 10 days. There are conditions, of course. You need to be a Muslim, be in a state of purity, have the right intention, and it must be done in a mosque.
And Laylatul Qadr, the night of power.
Hugely significant. Sought in the odd nights of the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Worship on that single night is considered better than 1,000 months and can lead to forgiveness of all past sins.
Wow. And there's also a special charity at the end.
Sadaqah Ifit, yes, a donation given usually 1 or 2 days before the Eid al-Fit prayer to help the needy celebrate.
Okay, so Ramadan is packed with blessings and prescribed actions. But even here, innovations can arise.
Sadly, yes. The sources critique one common practice, holding long lectures specifically to keep people awake on the nights Laylatul Qadr is sought.
Why is that critiqued? Isn't staying awake for worship good?
The intent is good, but the method is questioned. The sources call it ger mustasan, undesirable. The thinking seems to be it might not foster genuine heartfelt devotion. Maybe it becomes more about endurance. Plus, the principle that Allah doesn't burden a soul beyond its capacity.
So individual sincere worship is preferred over organized, potentially burdensome events.
That seems to be the emphasis. Similarly, with namaz tasabi, a specific voluntary prayer. While voluntary prayers might sometimes happen in congregation by chance.
Like if a few people are praying near each other.
Right. But systematically organizing congregations, specifically for namaz tasbih, is presented as not supported by the Prophet's practice. Individual performance is preferred.
Okay. And some things are called out as completely baseless.
Yes, very clearly. Rituals surrounding the last Friday of Ramadan, often called Jumatul Wada, or Farewell Friday.
Yes, I've heard of special significance being attached to that.
The sources say it's baseless, and also the concept of Qaza Umari. The idea that you can make up years' worth of missed prayers, maybe through specific prayers in Ramadan. The sources state this is false. Missed prayers generally need to be made up individually as soon as possible.
That's a very direct rebuttal of some quite common ideas. Okay, Ramadan ends. Eid al-Fitr is celebrated, and then comes Shawwal.
Right. The name means to lift, apparently referring to camels lifting their tails at that time of year.
Any specific virtues or issues here?
The main thing the sources highlight is refuting an old pre-Islamic Arab superstition.
Which was?
That Shawwal was an unlucky month for marriage.
And how is it refuted?
By pointing out the Prophet Muhammad himself married his wife Aisha in Shawwal. A direct action dismantling a cultural misconception.
A powerful example. Okay, after Shawwal.
Zulqa'ada, the sitting month.
Sitting because fighting stopped.
Exactly. It's one of the sacred months where fighting was traditionally forbidden. It's also considered one of the months of Hajj pilgrimage.
Any other specific virtues or common innovations noted?
No, similar to Rabiul Sani and Jumada. The sources note its status, but don't list specific extra virtues or common bidat. Again, reinforcing that pattern.
And finally, the 12th month, Zulhajjah.
The month of Hajj, the pilgrimage, which is the fifth pillar of Islam, and also the month of Eidul Adha, the festival of sacrifice.
This month sounds hugely significant.
Immensely. The sources place extraordinary emphasis on its first 10 days.
The first 10 days of Zulhajjah, why?
They are described as the days in which good deeds are most beloved to Allah, more beloved than deeds done at any other time.
Even more than jihad, fighting for the faith.
Yes, unless someone goes for jihad and loses both their life and property, becomes a martyr. Otherwise, good deeds in these 10 days are considered superior.
What kind of deeds are encouraged?
Specifically increasing talil, takbir, and tamheed.
Remind us what those are.
Talil is saying, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. Takbir is Allahu Akbar, Allah is greatest. Tamheed is Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah. Basically increasing remembrance and praise of God.
And the 9th day is particularly important.
The 9th is the day of Arafah. It's the central pillar of the Hajj pilgrimage itself. The sources mention Allah expressing pride in the pilgrims gathered at Arafah to the angels. It's a day of immense forgiveness and significance.
Are there examples of how people observed these days?
Yes, the sources share that companions like Ibn Umar and Abu Hurairah would actually go into the marketplaces during these first 10 days and recite the takbir, Allahu Akbar, out loud.
To remind others and encourage them.
Exactly, making it a public expression of devotion during this special time.
The sources also mention practical guidance for Eidul Adha about the sacrifice, Qurbani.
Yes, specific instructions for someone intending to offer a sacrifice.
What should they do?
From the moment the new moon crescent of Zulhajjah is sighted, they should refrain from cutting their hair and nails until after their animal has been sacrificed.
Okay. What about someone who can't afford to sacrifice an animal?
There's guidance for them too. If they trim their hair and nails on the day of Eidul Adha after the Eid prayer time, they could attain a similar reward to those who sacrificed. It shows an inclusivity in the practice.
That's a really thoughtful aspect. Anything else on Zulhajjah?
Just a final familiar caution. Be aware that many fabricated hadith also exist concerning the virtues of Zulhajjah.
So again, the need for verifying sources and seeking authentic knowledge.
Always. Especially when dealing with claims of specific rewards or virtues.
Well, this deep dive through the Islamic calendar, it really has hammered home that distinction, hasn't it, between authentic practice rooted in the Quran and Sunnah and later additions or innovations.
It really has. It feels like the core message is about sticking to the essentials, the foundational teachings, and being wary of anything that might obscure them or claim to improve upon them.
It emphasizes seeking genuine knowledge, understanding the why behind practices, not just the what.
Exactly. True devotion seems to lie in that adherence to what was revealed and exemplified.
So, reflecting on all this, what does it mean for you listening to this? How might this deeper look at the months, the practices, the warnings against innovation? How might it encourage you?
Perhaps it encourages you to look critically at traditions, maybe even ones you've grown up with, and ask, where does this come from? Is it based on authentic sources?
Right. And maybe focus more on those core principles of the faith rather than cultural layers that might have been added over time.
It's about empowerment, isn't it? Understanding the historical context, the scholarly views we've touched on. It can empower you to engage with your faith in a more conscious, meaningful way.
To truly understand the wisdom behind the practices, not just go through the motions, something definitely worth thinking about.